This week, we welcome to The Nutshell Paul Yude. Now, you may have heard of Paul through social media as the vegan athlete who at the age of 87 is a keen runner with 24 ultramarathons under his belt and whose aim is to run 100 ultramarathons before the age of 100 to raise money for animal charities. The lifestyle he leads has inspired so many, and as a member of the Plant-Based Health Professionals UK, we are delighted to have him on the podcast to tell us his story as we close the season with this special interview. So welcome to The Nutshell, Paul.
Thank you very much, Claire. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thanks for coming on, Paul. We're really excited to chat with you. So, as Claire mentioned, you have been described as the Octogenarian vegan athlete, and obviously we'd love to delve more into your athletic achievements. But being a health podcast, can we start by asking you about your health and whether you went vegan for health reasons or was it for something else?
Back in the early 2000s, do you remember mad cow disease? I'm sure you do. BSE,
I do.
Yeah. I thought I could avoid that. So I just gave up meat so I wouldn't catch mad cow disease, and I found that relatively easy. From being a big meat eater, I really was into my meat, but I gave up the meat. I think I've got the explanation for it, but for some reason I started looking at the dairy industry and the egg industry, and I've never taken any slightest interest in it before, but looking back, I feel that I became more empathetic when I gave up meat, and I started looking at the dairy industry, and I didn't like what I saw in any of it. It was just so hideous and cruel that I gave it up. It took me 2 years for all the blinkers to come off, and then I went vegan, and then my totally unexpected, my arthritis, which was getting worse and worse every year. You can see my fingers are twisted, and now they are got a lump on that thumb there, and I can't make a fist properly on either hand, and it was painful to shake hands, to change gear, pull up a duvet or hold a kettle. Everything was painful. I went vegan, and lo and behold, all the pain went. The arthritis just disappeared. I don't have arthritis anymore. I didn't really go vegan. I went plant-based. I didn't go vegan properly until I became an activist about 8 years ago. I just became a lot healthier.
Because arthritis is something that affects so many people, doesn't it? And like you say, it can be a really painful joint condition. Was it that transition from vegetarian, I suppose you were, to vegan that had the greatest impact on your joints, or had you already noticed it when you stopped eating meat?
I didn't notice it until I actually gave up the dairy and the eggs and just became completely plant-based, that my health really dramatically improved. And the other thing is, I smoked for 12, 13 years in my 20s and early 30s, and I gave it up when I was 33 when I got married. But I had a chronic cough about 20 years ago, and I was diagnosed with COPD, which was changed to bronchiectasis, something like that.
Bronchiectasis, yeah.
Yeah, they gave me a 28-day course of antibiotics and got rid of the cough. And they put me under the care of the lung clinic. But they discharged me after 6 months. They said, you don't need us anymore, you're too healthy, go away and come back if you need us. And now I don't have COPD, I don't have bronchitis. All that went away, and all I have now is a nasal drip if I'm exercising. When I'm out on the trail, I do have a bit of nasal drip, but that's all I have. That and the arthritis going away, the healthiest thing. It's the best thing I ever did, going vegan for the animals, but it's also the healthiest thing I could have done. And we found out later on, didn't we, that it's best for the planet as well. So it's a win-win-win situation, giving up animal products. Yeah.
I love that introduction that you've given there to how you personally came across this. But is it fair to say that you did this without being inspired by anyone in your friendship circle or from your family? Was this, ideas that you came to yourself?
It was completely on my own. Yeah. There was a bit of resistance from the family. People don't like change, particularly. They want to stay as they are. My family is not vegan. My wife eats vegan because I do all the cooking, but otherwise she's not. And my son has just got married recently, and he said, if you don't do any outreach at the wedding, Dad, I'll go vegan for a fortnight afterwards. So He's just started. He's gone vegan for a fortnight. We'll see how that transpires. But yeah, I did it all on my own, and it was back in those days. It was soya milk or sauce mix. Remember
Yeah,
sauce mix?
I
Yeah,
know it well.
yeah,
Yeah.
and, and lentils and beans, and I still love my lentils and beans. I have them every day for lunch. Some green lentils and red kidney beans.
I do know Sosmix and beans because, I'm also a vegetarian of the 80s. So I remember that being one of my favourite meals, and it's still sort of kind of comfort food that I come back to, that and the Berg mix. What I wanted to find out more about was really, you said people don't like change. So it is really something quite unusual to make any sort of changes when people have got past a certain age, whatever that may be. And I wondered whether you felt there were specific cultural challenges for people going vegan today in 2025, as an older person. What do you think they may experience?
I think there's definitely a resistance to going outside, anything outside the box. I've got a group of 30 friends that I meet regularly. Every 6 months we go have a walking weekend, and only recently has somebody come out and said, after looking at what I send out an email every time we meet and say, this is what you should be doing, guys, and this is why I do it. And one of them came back and said, after looking at Paul's information, I've decided to go vegan. So that's the first one. Over the last 25 years I've been doing it. But the others, I mean, I used to have to take my own meals. I'd take a curry that I've prepared, but now each evening they have their meat, but sometimes they have an entirely vegetarian meal as well, which is progress of a sort.
Right.
But I need to get back to, I need to be more outspoken, really. I need to challenge them all more.
Okay, so you thought that you were just sending something more like smoke signals rather than a full-on challenge to these people, but you've got this one person that after 25 years of those smoke signals, they've finally said, I'm going to go vegan, which is quite a big step. So do you then follow it up with any advice about how to do it?
Oh yeah, I gave them the links to the PCRM.org and also health professionals. Yeah, there's so much out there, isn't there? Really, there's so much help. Like Challenge 22 and all that, Veganuary. There's so many avenues. So yeah, I sent him some stuff, and he reckons he's doing okay on it. Yeah.
Great. Okay, and just thinking about when you first went plant-based, was it something that you thought to discuss with either your GP or any other health professional, and did you get any support from there?
Yeah, when I mentioned it, I don't think I mentioned I was going vegan, but I certainly told my GP that I was going to be vegetarian. Oh, and he said he approved of it. I said, "Oh, that's good, Paul." He said, "You'll find that good, excellent." So he was on board with that. But yeah, now I can really educate a doctor now, on nutrition if I ever got to see one.
Well, hopefully you don't need to see one too often, is what I say to my healthy older patients. If they come in and they say, "I haven't been here for a long time," I'm always quite pleased about that, just because what it means in terms of their health. Hopefully, coming on to the fact that you've said that you feel really well, and what that's allowed you to do is sort of to become quite an impressive vegan runner. Can you tell us a bit more about what you've achieved in that field, and maybe in terms of other fitness as well?
Yeah, well, I better clear up a misapprehension. I don't do any running on my ultras. The only running I do now is I'll walk into town, say 4 or 5K along the canal, and I'll try and do 3 HIT bursts of real sprinting, 300-meter sprints along the canal. And the rest of the time I walk. Because I figure I'm walking the ultras. I know 70% of people who do ultra marathons walk them anyway. And when I do run, I can actually walk faster than I can run at the moment. So I just walk mainly. But it's good exercise. It's good for you, and I do enjoy it. I tried to run in my 40s, and my knees were so sore. I gave it up after 6 weeks. And when I went vegan and my health improved, my arthritis disappeared, I didn't think about running again until just before lockdown. I was chasing my then 8-year-old grandson around the dining room table here, and he could keep it up for ages. I thought, hang on, my knees are not hurting. And then lockdown came, and I thought I'll come out of it with a new skill. So I did and I didn't want to disgrace myself. I wanted to go to the local park run. I thought I'll do some practice first. I did a 20-yard track in my back garden and ran down that for 6 months. I found that I dropped into it really very easily because the reason for that is I should tell you about another challenge that I set myself. When I was 79, I was playing table tennis down at the YMCA, and a guy down there was telling me about this American guy who'd done 1,000 press-ups in a day. And I thought, oh, maybe I could do something like that and raise money for the YM. They were always short of money. And eventually I practiced and really worked at it and did 1,000 press-ups in an hour and raised a few £100 for the YM and also the local homeless group. I used to teach bread making. That's one of my skills. I teach bread making. And I was teaching down there, so I raised money for the two of them. And then I thought, how do I keep that level of fitness of doing those press-ups? And so I challenged myself to do 1,000,000 press-ups between the age of 80 and 90. And I do 10,000 a month, about 1,000 every 3 days. And I'm up to about 809,000 now, I've lost count. And I've got 2 years to go. And so when I started running, I was pretty fit anyway. You know, I didn't go off the couch or anything. And I started on the 28th of March. And by the end of June, I felt confident enough to do 10K every day for 10 days to raise money for Dean Farm Trust Sanctuary. So I started on the 21st of June and intended to do 10K every day. And I thought I'm going to get more tired as the weeks go on, obviously, as the week progresses. But instead, I got stronger. And in the end, I did 110K in that 10 days. And and then again, I went online, I went on Facebook and said, how do I keep this level of fitness that I've achieved? And somebody suggested ultramarathons. And I Googled it, I looked online, and there's this wonderful picture of Exmoor with the challenge was to walk from Minehead to Dawlish over the peninsula. And I was hooked immediately when I saw that. And I persuaded my son to join me, and we and that was our first ultra, July 2021. Yeah, and I was hooked. I think you asked me about the most what I'm most proud of. When I was walking up from Minehead to Dunkery, top of Dunkery, and it was the end of July, but there'd been a freak weather event, and the rain was pouring down, and the wind was whistling across, and there were thunderstorms about. And I was walking up this stony, muddy track with my son. I'm trying to hold the poncho over my head and pull it down over my shoulders. And the wind was just too strong. And I said to Ben, my son, I said, Ben, there's nowhere else I'd rather be, because I felt so alive. So every sense was at full bore. And I've been addicted to ultra since then. I can recapture that feeling.
Yeah, I think I've said that to myself before as well. When I'm going through something quite tough, at least I know I'm alive.
Indeed.
So would you describe that then as the toughest thing that you've had to do?
Not really, no.
In terms of events?
The hardest thing was when I tried to do the Thames. I tried to walk along the Thames continuously from Putney Bridge to Henley, which is 100K along the path. Mm. And I started at 7:30 in the morning. We got to 2:30 the following morning, and I was sleep deprived. I was hallucinating. I was walking along a steady level track. It was about 8K for just continuous level track, and I felt myself falling forward. I always felt as if I was going downhill. And I thought there were people next to me. I turned around, there was nobody there. On both sides, I was hallucinating like mad. And eventually down I went. And I was immediately surrounded.
This is awful.
I was immediately surrounded by love. They put me in touch with the doctor at the next rest stop. And he said, can you sit up, Paul? And I said, I'll try. And this young woman got down on the path and offered her knees for me to lean against. And then he said, can you stand up? I said, I'll try. So this guy said, look, hang on to me, mate. So I hung on to him for about 20 minutes. He's a humorous, very funny Welsh guy. And I found out later on that he was going for a time. He wanted to, he had a specific time in mind, but it didn't matter. Somebody wanted help, and he was happy to give it. And that's the community of these ulcers. Everybody wants you to succeed, everybody helps everybody else. So that was the toughest thing I did. And I promised my wife, since I won't ever go hundreds anymore. I'll just do 50s, stick to 50s.
I mean, that sounds like one of the worst, sort of almost like a night shift, that hallucinating and feeling absolutely exhausted. I think quite a few healthcare people can probably relate to that.
Yeah, with your 48-hour shifts and that, I'm sure you can. Yeah.
What is it that you hope to do in the future? Can you tell us more about that and how you're raising money, importantly?
One of my aims is to show you can be fit and healthy and strong as a vegan into old age, should I ever get there. So that's one of my aims. And also to fundraise for Viva, which is an outstanding charity. They do a lot of work on behalf of the animals. It's a bit grandiose, but every day I wake up, I want to increase the amount of well-being in the world. And I can best accomplish that by helping to persuade people not to eat animals. So I do a lot of outreach.
And absolutely, hearing how passionate you are about that, I think your son should really appreciate the fact that you laid off the what you're calling outreach at his wedding. And I only hope that after 2 weeks of trying the plant-based diet that he's feeling sufficiently better that he'll think about doing it more long term.
Yeah, I've got all my fingers crossed, Claire, I'll tell you.
Oh, that would be lovely to have another one in the family, wouldn't it?
I certainly would, yeah.
I've got a few sort of asking for a friend questions. They are sort of more technical questions in terms of ultra running. And the first one is really what you eat, maybe before you do an ultra, when it's a continuous one, what are you eating during, and how do you recover after a big event? Do you have a particular strategy? Sometimes people talk about how many grams of carbohydrate they eat per hour. Is that something that's within your formula for doing a good ultra?
Not really, Claire. I follow Dr. Greger's 12, the Daily Dozen. You familiar with that?
Yeah. Maybe just remind listeners. I think not everyone will.
No, sure. He's got a list of half a dozen foods that you should eat every day for good health, like legumes, nuts, seeds, lots of green leafy vegetables. And he's got a checklist of about a dozen things that you should eat on a daily basis. So I try and follow that. And that's mainly basically what I do. I don't really alter it any way leading up to an ultra. When I go out on the trail, I'll take some medjool dates and take the stone out and put some marzipan in there as a sweet treat. So I have one of those about every hour just to give myself some nutrition. The other pocket of my rucksack, I've got some ginger biscuits as well. So between the two, and then when we get to the rest stops, there's always pretty good food. It's average. It's okay. It sustains you. Yes, but I don't do anything special really leading up to it. And recovery afterwards. The benefit of being plant-based is you don't really need recovery times. I'll do an ultra on a Saturday, and by Monday I'm out doing 5K or something. Whereas my carnivore colleagues will be laid up till about the Thursday or the Friday with all their aching. I don't have any aches. When I did that 10K every day for 10 days, the first couple of days I was a bit stiff getting out of the chair, but that went away. I wasn't stiff at all. There's no aches or pains. I don't suffer from that at all. So it's definitely very beneficial. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, hopefully that'll convince people of the strategy then, that you actually don't have to change how you're living. Brilliant. So this is the second question that I have from a runner, which is about whether you've got any outfit preference when you're going on a long ultra. I know you've said that you don't actually run it, but you've got that sort of walking technique. And I wondered if there was anything that you wore, particularly in terms of the shoes, or whether you favoured wearing shorts and a vest, or whether you were more of a long sleeves and the legs person.
Yeah, well, I've got a good friend, Facebook friend, but he's a good friend on Facebook who's come down with Lyme disease. So I'm very conscious of that, and I've got some lightweight, sort of half waterproof trousers that I wear. You can wear them in summer or
Yep.
winter. So I always wear long trousers if I'm going out in the bush anywhere, and because I'm conscious of that. And if the sun's out, I'll wear a long sleeve shirt. I'll put a sun cream on, but I prefer to keep covered rather than put cream on. That's about it, really.
Paul, it's so inspiring hearing about all your ultra marathons and your push-up challenges and everything. And no fancy equipment, no fancy food, just eat the natural stuff and get out there. It's brilliant. And I can totally see why someone's decided to make a documentary about you, because you really are such an inspiration. And the documentary, for listeners, I think will be out shortly after this podcast is released, within a day or two, I think. But we were fortunate enough to have a sneak preview of it, and we've watched. It's called More Like Paul. What a great title, and what a great watch it was as well. What was it like, though, having the cameras sort of following you around? And can I ask also, what do you hope the documentary will do for veganism?
I was first of all filmed by Tom Pickering, who made the film I Could Never Go Vegan. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
So
absolutely,
he followed me on the southwest coast loop from Minehead to Porlock to Dunkery, back down to Minehead again, and that was just he had his camera there, and every now and again he put his camera on me and say, "How are you feeling, Paul?" I'd say, "I'm feeling great," and he sort of carry on. That was the first film that I'm in, and then Damien came along and said, "Can I tell your story?" And I said, "Yeah." But my message is, well, like when you guys say, "Can you interview me?" Yeah, I want to get the word out there about veganism. Go vegan, guys. So it's just another tool. And so when Damien came and said, "Can he film me?" I was very receptive to that. And it's so. I mean, it's interesting to me to see the different disciplines that they have for filming you, and for one couple of hour stretch, I was going up and down the canal path down here near where I live, over the same stretch about a dozen times, while he filmed me from behind, from the side, from in front, and from just filming my feet at one stage, and to do it all again. And so it was fascinating, the whole experience. Yeah, I loved it. It's a bit like now. We all like talking about ourselves. It's a bit of that, really. Yeah, so I enjoyed the whole experience.
You're very humble, Paul.
Thank you. Well, do you know what? I mean, you ask anybody who's done anything, any accomplishment, will say, "Well, it's just sort of normal. You just accept it." And that's how I feel about my ulcers. I just think, it's putting one foot in front of another, and you just keep on going. And what I have got a lot of is determination. If I start something, I want to finish it. And because the incentives are that, first of all, it's the message that it sends. I want people to follow it and become vegan and do the exercise. But it's also the fact that getting out there and being active keeps your blood circulating in your brain, and you're less likely to get dementia. And there's all sorts of benefits from being healthy. Your telomeres are longer, and you eat the right nutrition, and you exercise. There's so much to be said for it. So I don't consider myself anything out of the ordinary. In fact, maybe I should get a rebate from the NHS because I'm not costing them any money for tablets. I tell people I'm 87, I'm on no meds, I'm living my best life, and I'm as happy as I've ever been. And I want to share that.
Wonderful.
So I've got a plan at the moment. I don't know if you read about or heard about my 31 times 31 times 31 challenge last year. Perhaps I could tell you about that.
Tell us more about it. Please do, yeah.
There's a big gap between ulcers, and I thought, what can I do in July that'll give me a challenge to keep me motivated, get me out there. And I thought about, I'll make although I say it myself, a lovely chocolate cake. It costs about 60p if you get your ingredients from Lidl or Aldi, and it takes about 15 minutes if you've got a microwave. And I thought I'll take the chocolate cake to 31 care homes over 31 days in the 31 days of July. And I got in touch with Viva, who gave me some information for at care homes looking after vegan residents, how they can cater for them. So I would take the cake and the leaflets and offer them to these care homes. And it was the best month. It really was. I mean, I've known for a long time it's better to give than to receive. Which when I was a kid, I thought, what a load of rubbish that is. But as you get older, you realise it is good to give. And I was giving these chocolate cakes out, and everybody was so happy to receive them. And it was just a lovely month. And I thought, what can I do this month? First of all, I thought about schools, giving it to staff rooms, all the schools in Taunton. But I've got two friends who work at the local hospital, Shazzy and Emma. And they work at Musgrove Park Hospital, which is quite a big hospital. Chatting with them, I thought, well, let's do it for 31 different departments. The same thing again, 31 cakes, 31 days, and lots of leaflets, from Viva. Shireen's given me some stuff I can print off, and I can offer that to them. And then they've said that they've, in the last, towards the end of the month, they've organised for me to speak to somebody in the rheumatology department. Some medics, and hopefully I'll give a talk to them. And that's what I want to do. I want to show.
Wonderful.
Here's a guy, he's 87, he's unknown me. Well, why isn't everybody like me? I'm nothing special. Everybody should be as fit as I am. We shouldn't be costing the NHS anything, or care homes. Imagine if the government said, let's all go plant-based. They could save the NHS at a stroke, couldn't they? Let's face it. I mean, you guys, you've got this uphill battle all the time, haven't you? You must be so frustrated.
It can be at times, but clearly we're missing a trick. It must be cake and education rather than just education. That's our way in, isn't it? We'll bear that in mind, Paul. That's a good one.
Yeah.
But going back to your documentary, which we will put the link in the show notes, and I think that will be available to watch on Vimeo, the platform, for free. So please, listeners, watch that and hear and see more about what Paul's doing. And you are obviously loved by the community of vegan runners, as well as the community here at Plant-Based Health Professionals, where you're also a member. And we love the work that you're doing now in hospitals and schools. But have you had criticism from anywhere, Paul? Has there been any online trolling or anything like that? And if so, how do you manage that?
I've been pretty lucky. I don't get much. I get very little criticism. If I come across any trolls, I've taken the attitude that I used to be a big meat eater. I know where these guys are coming from. In fact, I'm not sure I would have been a troll in particular, but I certainly would have been sarcastic and all-knowing. And while I was still eating meat, I'll tell people that what you're doing there, you're heading for erectile dysfunction, and I'll pull up Dr. Gregor's nutritionfacts.org on the subject, and I'll give that to them. So do your research, guys, because this is it's a canary in the coal mine for your CVD and your cancer and that. If you've got ED, and I tell them that 40% of guys at 40, the age of 40, have ED, and 50% at 50, 60% at 60. So just go vegan and avoid that problem. So I try to be. I don't always manage it, but I try and be respectful and try and get on board rather than be confrontational. I find that works better.
Can you tell us a bit about maybe who inspires you? You're obviously inspiring us. I mean, I remember straight after watching your documentary thinking, I've got to go for a run. But who inspires you?
There's a guy called Mike Fremont. First of all, there's a guy called Harvey Lewis. He calls himself online on Facebook, Harvey Lewis Vegan Runner. And he's extraordinary. He's just done 500 miles over 3 days or something, and they call these backyard ultras. And he's got a friend, 103 years old, vegan athlete he is, Mike Fremont. And he's 103, he's just bought himself a new pair of running shoes. I find that
wonderful.
Wonderful, exactly. He does a 5 kilometre run to it 3 or 4 times a week. He's got a pull-up bar. He does 25 pull-ups every day. He's got a canoe, and he goes canoeing. He's 103, and he had cancer in his 60s, and he went vegan then and cured his cancer, and so he inspires me. And I don't know if you're familiar with Rich Roll.
Yeah, of course.
He does podcasts about all different sorts of subjects. Yeah, he's a vegan athlete, ultra athlete, and he gets lots of endurance athletes on his podcast, and lots of interested people actually. But he had somebody on there called David Goggins. Are you aware of David Goggins?
Yeah.
He's supposed to be the fittest man in the world. He did the SEAL training in the U.S. forces, in the U.S. Navy 3 times because of injury and illness, and he's done the equivalent with the Army and the Air Force. So he's pretty fit, and he's got a couple of quotes that I use as mantras, like one of which is "Be uncomfortable." Nothing happens in your comfort zone. You've got to get outside of your comfort zone and find out what you're capable of, and be comfortable with being uncomfortable. So when you're 3K into a 5K run and you think, oh, gee, I wish I hadn't started this, just be comfortable with the fact that you're uncomfortable, because, the benefits will be there at the end. And he says, one thing that does inspire me all the time is we can all do more than we think we can. We can all do much more than we think we can. He's got the example of doing, he says, when you think you're done, you're absolutely spent, you've got nothing left, you've only used 40% of your resources. So he's an inspiration to me. So there's a few of my people that inspire me.
That's brilliant. Yeah, you can sort of see how that would be inspiring for an athlete, but also it equates to real life as well, doesn't it?
Indeed, it does. Yeah. Yeah, you're thinking about that awkward interview with your boss or something. Well, Bill, you've got to be uncomfortable to get, And another one is anticipation is worse than the actual event.
Yeah.
You build stuff up in your mind and you actually do it. Oh, it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. It's all mind games, really, at the end of the day.
100%, yeah. And you've obviously put yourself in those situations where you have pushed your body to the limits and you have set yourself, big challenges and big goals. But what would you say is the biggest challenge that you've faced when it comes to your lifestyle outside of, say, your athletic challenges? I know it's quite a personal question, if you don't mind us asking.
My biggest challenge is my friends and family, I would say. The fact that they don't... When you first realise the horrors of just take one example, what happens to a dairy cow, you look at that and you think, oh, I didn't realise that. I thought cows gave milk naturally. I didn't realise the horrors that they went through. I must tell my friends about this, and they'll see that, and they'll go vegan as well. And my family, and it doesn't happen, does it? They don't see it the same way as you do, and that I find is a great source of frustration in my life. Yeah, I can talk to strangers about going vegan far easier than I can my family and friends. When you're doing your doctoring, how easy it is to talk about a plant-based nutrition for your patients.
Well, I think it's very easy to talk about the health benefits because they're clearly there. And, the evidence is very strong that we need to eat more plants for better health, not just for human health, but for the planet. Obviously, it gets perhaps a little bit more tricky when you're thinking about the ethics of eating animals, and that perhaps doesn't really come into the consultation. Whether it should or not is perhaps another podcast entirely. But Claire and I have always had this discussion, haven't we, about how much of what we eat goes beyond just the effects on the individual, but actually the effects on the animals that we share the planet with, and the planet in general.
Yeah, and I think it comes back to what you said when you were talking about physical endurance, and you've got to be comfortable being uncomfortable. Sometimes when I'm doing a consultation, your aim is to have a rapport with your patient and to sort of really work out what page they're on. But I think sometimes when you're talking about these things, you don't feel comfortable. It feels uncomfortable. But I've started to say to myself, maybe that's okay, because if we are going to get the message out there that's totally different to a message that they're getting from all other angles of society, and we're confident that we're saying it with the best will in the world for their health, for the planet, for the animals, I don't feel that that's something I should be holding back from. You can make small interventions, I think.
Your actions speak louder than words, Paul, like the things that you're doing. Yeah, I always think that about food and cooking. I think that speaks, because people like the food I cook. But if people are saying how healthy and how alive you are and full of vigor and energy, it just speaks for itself, doesn't it?
Yeah. Thanks. I do get the occasional message saying I'm going to put on my running shoes after seeing what you're doing, and I definitely need to get out there more. So I think I am making a difference in that regard somewhere. Yeah.
So, on this podcast, we love talking about food. So, what we'd love to ask you, Paul, is to share with listeners what either your favourite vegan meal is or even what you're having for dinner tonight, just to inspire people.
If I had just had some sudden vegan guests that they wanted to come for dinner, I'd nip in the kitchen and I'd get some red lentils and make a dal. Get some onions, red lentils, sauces, perhaps some rice, and in 30 minutes you've got a meal. And it's absolutely delicious. It's probably my favourite meal of all. I call red lentils the vegan's fast food because it's just so easy and quick to prepare, and they're so damn tasty. I can say, I mean, lentils altogether. I have for lunch. I have 5 different seeds for lunch. That's walnuts, wheat germ, and prunes, apricots, strawberries, and blueberries. And I make my own hummus. I'll mix that with some soy milk for a sauce, for a salad dressing, and I'll have that with turmeric.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea.
Cayenne pepper, and some half a teaspoon of garlic powder, half a teaspoon of onion powder, and some nooch, always nooch, with a slice of wholemeal bread, which I make my own bread, and Marmite, peanut butter, and tomatoes. And that's my lunch every day. I have that.
Lovely lunch.
Oh, also, I'll make a smoothie. I'll make a smoothie concentrate. It'll last me for about 5 days. I'll make a big tub of kale, spinach, some sprouts, strawberries and blueberries, and dates for sweetness. I also put green tea leaves in there. I don't drink green tea. I can't stand the stuff. But according to Dr. Greger, green tea leaves, that if you eat those, that's even better than drinking green tea.
That's a good idea.
So I put that in the smoothie as well, along with some cacao and what's the other thing I put it? Oh, ginger. That's that. So I'll have that about 4 big dollops of that in some soya milk with some date puree, and I have that along with some beetroot juice. Always have beetroot juice. So I try and eat healthy, and I think I'm achieving that. Yeah.
I haven't been counting, but I'm sure you get your 30 plants a week. That's impressive, Paul.
That's got it all going on, hasn't it?
Are you having a dal tonight?
But my wife likes, what is it, sweet and sour. So I've got a jar of sweet and sour, but I'll throw some broccoli in there and some cabbage and, onions and that. Mushrooms. I always eat lots of mushrooms.
And some tofu?
My wife's not a great fan of tofu. I have tofu and tempeh, and also I make my own seitan, so I'll have that. But no, I'll have. My wife likes this Richmond meat-free pieces, so we'll have some of that in there, along butter beans, loads of butter beans. She loves butter beans.
Oh yeah.
Well, she's benefiting from all the health benefits, isn't she? She's getting all the spillover.
Yeah,
where there's a vegan in the family. She's totally getting all the benefits.
I'm sneaking stuff into her. By the way, my latest treat, you might want to take a note of this.
Oh yeah, I've got my notebook.
200 grams of dark chocolate, 70% whatever, or 80 whatever, which you melt over a saucepan on your stove.
Yeah.
And then when it's melted, you break up 300 grams of banana in there. And then you blitz it with a stick blender. And then you pour it into a flat mold, and you put it in the fridge. And an hour later, you can take it out and start munching on it. And that's a healthy, guilt-free treat. Yeah, so.
Can I come over, Paul? I'm inviting myself over for dinner.
For someone who struggles with her calorie intake, as in too many, 200 grams of dark chocolate in one go might be a bit overdoing it for me.
I've got to start those ultra marathons. That's what it is, Claire.
So you put it with 300 grams of banana, and you have it over a week or 2 weeks. What I do is I'll break it in chunks, cut it into about 60, 70 chunks, and put it in the freezer. And just take out a couple of chunks.
And then hide them from me.
If my wife wants to treat a snack in the evening, she gets a couple of apricots and some frozen chocolate and banana chunks. And it's healthy, it's guilt-free, and it's...
Lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I've got a better plan. I think we run with Paul first, or we do an ultra, and then we'll eat the food all together. How's that?
Yeah. Or continue. I don't think we need to wait till the end, Daisy.
I think
Yeah.
the thing about ultras, I should say as well, is that they're easier than marathons. If you do a marathon, you've got to run 26 miles flat out for however long it takes. If you do an ultra marathon, you walk about 8 miles, you sit down, you have a cup of tea and a bit of cake, and then you do another 8 miles. You just keep on going, so it's a lot easier than doing a marathon, I'll tell you.
It's just one long tea party. Yeah.
Yeah, it
We're
is.
sold.
I'm sold.
If we've got those chocolatey banana things at the end, I'm sold.
Yeah. What about you, Daisy? Because we've had some call for this. What are you having for dinner?
Well, I have actually prepared a very nice dinner tonight because it's a bowl. It's like a bowl food thing. So I will have a grain of whatever choice you want. Today I'm going to have whole grain, whole wheat pasta. And I've bought this, it's actually tofu that's already flavoured with pesto, like a sort of basil tofu. So we just chop it up. I'll heat it a bit in the air fryer just to get it crispy. Put that next to the pasta and then rocket, salad, whatever veggies you want or you've got. I'll have some cooked broccoli that's been left over, so that will go on the side. Sprinkle with some seeds. So you just basically whatever veg or grain you want with a protein sauce, and it's in a big bowl. But I really like that pesto tofu combination. So
look out for that. That sounds delicious.
What about you, Claire?
Well, looking out in the garden, my sage is looking beautiful and going bonkers. So unfortunately for the plant, I'm going to be harvesting quite a lot of it, I think, later. And I'm going to make, I've spoken about this before, I'm going to make a sweet potato gnocchi because I've got one single purple sweet potato that I can use as the base with some flour, maybe a bit of normal potato as well to make the little gnocchi, the pasta balls.
Lovely.
Really easy to make. Did I mention my potato ricer? Have you got one of those, Paul?
No.
I think it's actually an older person's thing, to be honest, because we never had one when I was growing up, but my grandma had one. It's like a press for potato.
Okay, yeah.
No reaction to that, but it's good for making potato pasta, basically. And then you just put loads of sage with it, much more than you'd get in a packet in the supermarket. You can really sort of go for the sage bush, and then put some garlic, maybe some pine nuts, olive oil, and that's it. You're done.
Sounds really good. Yeah, I must try that.
Isn't sweet potato on Dr. Gregor's
daily dozen?
The purple one.
And
the purple one.
A purple one, even more so. Yeah. You don't see those very often. I must inquire out the greengrocers about it. Yeah.
Well, Paul, if our listeners want to connect with you, where can they find you? Where are you most active on social media?
Well, I'm on Instagram as @UdePaul. I'm on Facebook as Paul Ude, and Twitter as Paul Ude. I'm not difficult to find.
We'll put those links in the show notes for our listeners to connect with you if they want.
And your sponsor link, if they want to sponsor you, is that easy to find?
Well, that'll be on my blog. I'd tell you, I've got this blog called No Bread is an Island. As I say, I used to teach bread making, and my fundraising that is up there. The first thing you see when you sign on to it. I've also got my press-up challenge on there and my recipe.
We'll put that in the show notes as well.
Okay.
Thank you, Paul.
Excellent.
It was really, really great fun chatting with you today. We really enjoyed it.
Yeah, well, I enjoyed talking to you guys.
Can't wait to see more of your running and hear more of your achievements.
Excellent. That's lovely. Well, it's been nice meeting you guys. I hope we might meet up in person one day and give each other a hug.
Yeah, that'd be lovely.